This Henlu meal, pho, is not good. Hi everyone. Poopy Thunny Doodoo Laltano here, the internet's busiest pho nerd. And it's time for a review of this new Henlu meal, pho. Henlu, as many of us already know, is a real mysterious creature that roams these lands. Some of us may say the inner machinations of his mind are an enigma. He is an incredibly unpredictable entity, and just last night, he did something I was not expecting. He sent me a message in a fairly public Discord server, which consisted of two parts. The first being a directive, a demand, possibly even a threat, telling me to rate this pho. And right below it, there was a photo he'd taken of the meal that he was requesting me to evaluate. Now, it would be a whole 14 hours before I would view the message. At the time it was sent, I was on my usual Clash Royale grind, since those cards are not going to upgrade themselves. But now that I've been given the opportunity to truly digest the contents of the words Henlu has sent me, I am now able to say my valuable opinions of Henlu's pho. But before we do that, huge shout out to Grain Nugget, one of my colleagues in the YouTube scenery. He is a fellow base pho enjoyer like me. Check out his videos, after mine of course. Now, first thing I need to get out of the way. Pho is the greatest dish of all time. I don't think I will ever find anything that tastes better than it, or at least not for a long time. Just last night, I was praying for some pho to enter my life. My mom fed me some strange gray meat egg abomination. Just talking about it must have sent a shiver down that vegan teacher's spine. And all I could think about, apart from the Clash Royale match I was in, was almost anything could be better than this. But now, it looks like the pain and suffering I endured was for a good reason, because some 20, 30, possibly 40-minute drive away, my ex-classmate Henlu was eating the one and only, the legend, the holy grail of meals, pho. What a lucky bastard. Or is he? Now, if you didn't know already, pho isn't a type of noodle. It's a Vietnamese broth. It doesn't matter what kind of noodles or meat toppings or pretty much anything you put into the mix. As long as you have the broth down, it can be considered pho. Anyway, when you go out to a restaurant to eat pho, or even just Google it, you can see that the broth is translucent with a bit of brown. That's what broth is. You boil meat and naturally you get a light brown color. That's what I think of when someone mentions pho. Noodles in a brown soup. Yeah, and it's how I thought of it my whole life. So when I opened Discord and saw a practically orange bowl of pho, my first thought was, what in the actual living doo-doo farted this? Pho broth is not orange. Alright, looky here. I understand that many businesses put chemicals in their food to make it taste better. It's a tactic to get their customers to come back, you know. Their food tastes better, so their customers are going to choose their restaurant over other ones. But this thing right here is an abomination of sorts. Not even of sorts, just an abomination. That's not pho. It's not. And that's a genuine question I'm asking here. Is that even pho? When you put that many chemicals into the food, to the point where the color gets so light that many people wouldn't consider it to be the same color as before. Because some people do say brown is dark orange. Is that even broth? Like at first glance, I'm just going, I'm not eating that. I'm not eating that thing. You can't pay me to eat that. Of course, that's an exaggeration. I love pho. The worst pho is still better than the best of a lot of other foods. But still, I'm hesitating. And that's a feeling that I've never felt before. To look at a bowl of pho and not want to instantly devour it? Damn. But I guess that is the nature of a wild Henlu. Always doing the weirdest things. Alright. That's enough talking about the color of the pho. Let's move away. We have other stuff about this meal to cover. It's time to look at what's inside the pho. From this picture, we can see bean stalks, beef, some look pre-cooked and some don't, green onions, and cilantro. On the default, I think that's hoisin sauce, not sure. And in the background there's sriracha. Now, these are all standard toppings for pho. There's nothing special here. It's not Henlu's fault either. Whenever I go to restaurants, this is usually on the menu. The last time I went to a pho restaurant actually, I ordered this exact thing. It was called pho Jin Bo Vien. Tasted so good. But you can also order other kinds such as pho ga, and depending on your country, maybe even pho cha. But it doesn't greatly matter what you put into the soup as long as there's at least noodles. If I'm going to be honest, I usually speedrun all the noodles before I know it. And then there's just a bunch of beef and stuff left over at the end. That's why I find the beanstalk to be a very important asset when eating pho. When the server puts out that plate of beanstalks amongst the main dishes, I wait for everyone else to grab their share and just dump the rest into my bowl. They usually give the plate before we even order, so while we're waiting, I'm just slowly picking at the beans, one by one, munching on them. Just like McDonald's actually, I eat the french fries before the burger. So I am complaining about Henlu's lack of beanstalks here. Why did he put so little? Yes, I am basing everything off of this one image, but I highly doubt that he managed to mix the bowl in such a way that 95% of the beans ended up under the noodles for this one photo shoot. Usually, I put such an abundant amount that you can still see tons of them. But even if I disagree on some of Henlu's choices for what to put into the pho mix, if I was presented with this bowl of pho, would I eat it? Generally speaking, yes, I would eat it. I should be grateful that I'm getting food in the first place. Think of all the starving children in Vietnam. There's probably not too many. Vietnam isn't the poorest place in the world, but just think of them. They would love to be eating this bowl of pho, so I have to dunk on their goofy little pee-pee poo-poo cheeks and show them who's boss. I'm eating the pho, not you. Aha. But what if there was a line of pho bowls, and I was made to choose just one out of the bunch to eat? What are the chances that I choose this one that Henlu has sent me? Yeah, they're excruciatingly low. That's just way too many chemicals. This is way too unhealthy, and that's coming from a guy who used to eat McDonald's on a twice weekly basis. If I were rating this as a food, it would already be a bad score based off of color alone. But this is pho we're speaking of, and I can assure you, this is the worst pho I have ever had the courtesy of laying my eyes upon. So yeah, this pho, not good. Transition.